Well, good morning. I thought I would do another video. I'm going to be making homemade pie crust this morning. And in my bowl, I have measured out 2½ cups of plain all-purpose flour. And white lily is my preference when it comes to flour. I've got a half a stick of butter. Well, no, excuse me, not a half a stick of butter. I have a whole stick of butter that equals a half cup. I've got about a half cup of shortening. And in my flour, there's a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm gonna add about a teaspoon or so of salt. And I prefer kosher salt over just plain table salt. So I keep a little container of it out all the time, and that's what I always use. And I've also got ice water. So I'm gonna need 6 to 8 tablespoons depending on how it goes. So now you can use a food processor for this, but nobody wants to mess with all that. So I have a pastry blender that I will use to cut my shortening into my flour. So here we go. I gotta figure out how I can set you up. I'm making pies this morning. How's that? Perfect? All right. So I'm making several pies this morning because we have an event for work this afternoon, and everybody goes kind of cuckoo for different things that I make. And so today I'm making strawberry pie and chocolate pie and lemon pie. Not lemon, key lime pie. Sorry. And so I thought I would show you how to make the crust.
I don't know, your lemon favorite. Lemon is pretty damn good too.
The lemon is very good, especially with the new recipe that I found. It has become a family favorite for sure. Even Aiden eats it, and that says a lot. So I'm gonna kind of cut my butter up since it is straight out of the refrigerator, and you want to use cold butter to do this. And this recipe will make 2 pie shells. And so I'm gonna repeat this process 3 times today, or this morning. And so you just take your pastry knife and just start cutting the butter and the shortening into the flour. And you want things to be kind of like pea, like a green English pea size when you're done. So I'm just kind of turning my bowl and pushing my pastry knife down. It's an essential kitchen gadget in my home. Growing up, my mom always used it to, when she was browning meat, she would use it to make the meat even finer for spaghetti or chili. She never likes big hunks of meat in her sauces. We're the exact opposite in that manner. So, but I still love her, even in her quirky ways. But she is who taught me how to cook. Now, she didn't teach me how to make pie crust. We always bought Pillsbury's pie crust, the deep dish ones in the freezer section. But I tried this a few months back and said it was so easy I would never buy one again, as far as a pre-made one goes. So I think I've got what I want it to look like. I'm just gonna scrape my flour and dough, butter off of there, and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what we've got. See, it's not anything that's fine. It's like pea size cut up in there, and that's just gonna help create layers of flakiness and make for a tender crust. All right, so I'm just gonna make a little well in the middle. Nothing too fancy. I got my ice water. It says 6 to 8, but I'm just using a spoon out of the drawer to measure this with. So I'm gonna start with about 8 to begin with. I didn't count, so don't hurt me. And I'm just gonna start blending this together, stirring it around, pushing it down. The oven's preheated. I'm gonna add some more because it's not come together yet. Okay, so it's starting to get there, and you just kind of want to push it down, and you'll see well, that's a little too sticky, but it'll come together fairly quickly. It doesn't take much. Not much at all, and I usually clear off my spoon. Excuse me. And when it starts looking kind of like this, I get my hands involved. Because again, you don't want to work it too much, but you don't want glutens to develop, because that will make it tough. And I'm just trying to get it all to come together in a ball. Almost there. And so we're almost there. There's a little bit left in the bowl. That's not a big deal. So I'm going to take a little bit of my flour, my plain flour, and just dust it on the counter. Put my dough down. And I'm just going to bring it together. Okay. Just going to knead it just a little bit, just because I want all this goodness to come in together and form a big ball, and then we'll cut it in half and make 2 crusts. If it starts sticking to you, just add a little flour to your hand. Okay, we're about perfect. So most recipes that I have read said to let the dough rest. And I've done that. And last week I made a pie for Hannah's birthday, strawberry pie, and I did not let it rest out of, after following the advice of a friend. She said, just go for it. Don't let it rest. And I didn't. And the crust was perfect. It was tender, it was flaky, it held together. And so I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna let it rest. I'm gonna go making straight into my shell, and I'm just kind of forming it into a circle, because a pie pan is a circle. Got some flour down. So I'm just gonna pat it down a little bit, and then I've got my rolling pin. And until making pie crust, I never used a rolling pin, because when we make biscuits growing up, it was always just by feel and by hand. So I'm gonna roll it, and then I turn it a quarter turn each time, and kind of watch your dough. If you see it going one direction, you can always roll it how you want it to be to get the shape, a general circle, because you're gonna have, it's not gonna be perfect by any shape of the imagination, but it's looking pretty good. Pull it up. Oh shoot, I ripped it, but that's okay. We're just gonna stick it back together. I didn't turn it like I should. But I'm just trying to show you that you don't have to be a professional to cook or to bake. It's not a perfect science. Okay? I have no professional training. Let me go ahead and say that. Just an average home cook. All right. Now again, it's not perfect. It's not gonna be. And that's okay. And I just ripped it again. It's getting warm. Well, I'm gonna fix this by smushing it back together. Scrape it up off the counter. Again, I didn't turn it like I should. It's gotten kind of cattywampus on me. Yeah, it's a real technical term. They're cattywampus. Okay. Now. All right. Not too shabby. Not perfect, but not too shabby. Now watch the next one I roll out. It'll be perfect, because you're not watching. So I'm going to fold it in half. And I've got my little pie pans over here. I bought disposable ones yesterday because, like I said, today I'm I'm baking for an event that's going to be outside, and I don't want to run the risk of my good pie pans getting broken. So I'm just going to pick this up and lay it halfway in my pan, and then unfold it. And I'm just going to begin to work it around the pan. Okay? And again, it doesn't have to be pretty, because you're going to fill it full of goodies and yumminess. And like if you got some here that's not perfect, it's okay. We're going to come back and crimp the edges. It's not about how it looks, even though it is. Me and my not a double standard, but you eat with your eyes first. Let's make that very clear. But it's gonna taste good, I promise. But see, once we form it together, it's gonna bake, and nobody's ever gonna know the difference. I'm gonna flour my fingers, and I'm just gonna go around the edge, crimping the edges by taking 2 fingers and pushing the others in, okay? And it's just gonna make a design around the edge of the pie. And for those of you who know me know I love to cook, and I love to feed people, and any opportunity to do so is always a blessing. I'm just kind of curling this under because it'll help form the crust around the edge. If you need some more flour on your fingers, put it on there. So it's Sunday morning. It's not early, but it's early enough for me to get these done before going to church. Y'all going to church this morning? You need to get fed for the week. Get filled up so you can have something to give out. Okay, so here is my perfectly imperfect pie crust. So I'm gonna dock it. I got a fork here. Just dock a few holes in it. That just lets air escape while it bakes in the oven, because it's got to bake for about 45 minutes. And I dock it around the edges too, around the sides. So there it is. So now I've got to put a piece of parchment down and some beans, some dried beans. So I've got some that I reuse all the time over here in the cabinet. But I didn't think I should throw them out, so I just reuse them every time, and all this is for is making pie crust. I've got my parchment already cut. Just put it down. And put some beans in, about 2 cups worth is fine. And spread that out. And that just helps the dough to stay flat. Because even though we used plain flour, it will still want to puff up a little bit, and so these are just weights to keep it down. Now my oven's preheated to 350, and we're gonna throw it in the oven and set a 30-minute timer, and then I'll just keep checking it on and off, and I'll show you the finished product when it comes out of the oven. All right, we'll see you in a few.